Hello everyone, my name is Urška Vranik-Ošlak and I'm a junior researcher at the Research Center of the Slovenian Academy of Sciences and Arts. Today I will present the process of integrating public engagement mechanisms in the Slovenian language counseling platform. So this is a joint contribution with my colleague Helena Dobrovolc. This contribution presents an upgrade of the existing software infrastructure of an online language counseling platform with public engagement mechanisms, namely the steps taken towards consensual integration of the public in the research process, that is through the GRACE project in the Horizon 2020 program. So my presentation will cover these main points. First, I will present the logic behind using public engagement mechanisms in language counseling. Then I will address the current situation in language counseling for the Slovenian language and the anticipated upgrade of the existing platform. To wrap it up, I will present the final upgrade plan and the anticipated efforts for the future. First, we must start by explaining about the GRACE project. So GRACE aims to contribute to the European Commission goal to spread and embed responsible research and innovation in European research. That is to achieve institutional change. The concept of RRI implies that stakeholders in the research process work together in order to meet the needs of society. Our vision associated with participating in the GRACE project is to develop a plan for defining more advanced forms of collaboration between researchers and the public, and to then upgrade the existing platform accordingly. So language counseling belongs to the broader spectrum of language management activities. In Slovenia, language counseling in various forms represents a notable linguistic tradition. Today, the so-called language corners, together with popular science language manuals and language counseling forums, fill the linguistic gaps created by the inadequacy of current language manuals. So the central language counseling platform for the Slovenian language is managed by Fran Ramoš Institute of the Slovenian language at the Research Center of the Slovenian Academy of Sciences and Arts. This platform is a good example of how the public, in the form of language questions and dilemmas, can be involved in the scientific process. The platform relies heavily on the contributions of the public. It is widely used for addressing ambiguities in standard language and for seeking advice on linguistic choices. Researchers, on the other hand, use it to identify language description gaps. So the language counseling service strives to be democratic in its judgments of language. As it operates online, it is used by Slovenian language users worldwide. The platform is available to everyone. The only requirement is mandatory registration. So the users of the platform are mostly Slovenian language speakers. They are willing to actively engage in constructive linguistic discussion and research. They perceive standard language as a vital part of their common identity. They seek straightforward and authoritative linguistic advice on specific issues on one hand, as well as in-depth explanations of linguistic phenomena. The platform is intended for everyone to use. However, language-related professions such as proofreaders, translators, teachers, etc. predominate. Most questions regard standard language use, as the Slovenian language has 2 million speakers who speak either one of the existing 8 dialects or one of the regionally spoken language varieties. The language counselors involved are mostly in-house linguists employed by the Fran Ramos Institute. They provide language advice as an addition to their professional assignments and scientific research. That means that they sometimes experience assignment overload and therefore have limited time and energy to devote to language counseling. To some extent, they are skeptical about public participation in the research process. Some do not think it is appropriate for the public to express their opinions on linguistic matters, as this is traditionally the authority of the linguist. At the moment, language users are already involved in the upstream stage of the research process, as they provide language questions and ambiguities. At the time of the upgrade planning, the public was not yet officially and in the narrow sense involved in the mid and downstream stages of the research process. Although occasional feedback via email and the publishing of answers on the platform could be considered downstream public engagement in the broadest sense. So the process of identifying the main points where the platform could benefit from a broader aspect of public engagement activities, several steps were taken. First, the editorial board of the platform gathered their thoughts and expectations regarding the announced upgrade. Then, a good practices study was conducted by the authors of this contribution to gain insight into similar activities in the field of linguistics. A questionnaire was then created to explore the experiences and needs of language counselors. And with all this in mind, an upgrade plan was drafted and then tested through a consultation process. And with the analysis of the consultation process, the final upgrade plan was devised. So the challenge at this stage was to educate the language counselors who were unwilling to accept public participation about the positive impact of such activities on the research process. The skepticism of language counselors was connected with the fear of criticism and the fear of undermining their linguistic authority. So we addressed this issue by preparing a questionnaire for all language counselors to learn about their needs and their experiences. Their reservations towards involving the public in the research process were significantly reduced by presenting the findings of the good practices study mentioned before. So in addition, a webinar was also organized to familiarize the language counselors with a similar and successful Dutch language portal, Meldpunt.taal. So the main goal of the consultation process was to test the preliminary upgrade plan. The consultation process consisted of an online stakeholder consultation organized on Zoom and a questionnaire for lay language users. So the stakeholder consultation included 3 professional language users, that is a translator, a Slovenian language teacher, and a proofreader, and 3 researchers, namely established linguists from other research organizations active in language counseling activities. So the lay users were then invited to complete a questionnaire. The questionnaire was published on the platform and was active for 1 week. The 32 respondents with no linguistic background were predominantly professionals or officials with higher education, that is mostly BA or MA. And the topics discussed were broken down to the anticipated upgrade elements of the individual research stages. So the results of all these activities were then used to create the final upgrade plan that describes the public engagement activities and mechanisms that will be integrated into the online language counseling platform this year. So the final upgrade plan is as follows. In the upstream research stage, there will be no changes. The platform will continue to collect language users' problems. In the midstream research stage, an additional editable section will be secured on the platform homepage, where news and announcements will be posted by the platform's moderator, and which could in the future possibly include links to midstream research. In the downstream research stage, there will be two feedback collecting mechanisms. One for registered users who ask language questions, and the second for visitors in general. The modules will be separate, and the collected feedback will be stored in separate databases. Feedback will be then reviewed regularly, that is probably biannually, by the editorial board. Feedback results and relevant findings will be communicated to language counselors and language users in several ways. So to conclude, these public engagement activities have started in the fall of 2019 and will end this October. Public participation in all research stages of the language counseling service will probably further democratize the answering process. Answering strategies will be adapted to the needs of language users. The platform and the organization behind it will become more responsive to society. The planned upgrade aims to fully involve the public in the research process. Language users will not only provide research material, but they will also be able to provide feedback on the research conducted and actively participate in research activities. In the future, midstream research initiatives could also be published on the platform. Okay, so this is all from me. Thank you for your attention.